Good to see everyone here. And today we're going to be talking about finishing your year strong. In Sandler, we use a tool called the CARE strategy tool. I think it might be the simplest tool that we have in our toolkit, but it's been very powerful for myself and my clients. And I think we're going to try to get the tool out to everyone here through the session, but even if you don't see that, it's just something you could draw out, the CARE tool, and I'm going to walk you through it today. So Michael was talking about getting into football that time of year, football starting, exciting. But I'm actually more excited about October baseball. So I'm wondering, as we think about who's still in the running here. I grew up in Michigan, so I'm going to be rooting for the Tigers. Some of you might be rooting for the Yankees, maybe the Padres. Unfortunately, us here in Chicago, we do not have a team that made it into the postseason. And in fact, I have a stat I'm going to pull up on the screen and see if anyone knows the significance of the stat. And here it is, 41 and 121. Who knows the significance of the stat? Yes, this was the final season record for the Chicago White Sox this year, 41 wins, 121 losses. And it said it is the worst losing record in modern baseball history. Hey, Tim, good, go Tigers. But I looked it up. Actually, there was a team that was worse than the 2024 Chicago White Sox, and it was the 1899 Cleveland Spiders, lost 134 games. Okay, so give our White Sox, give them a little bit of a break. They're not the most losing baseball team in history, but 121 losses. So looks like for now the GM. There we go. The Chicago White Sox. The GM for the Sox, Chris Getz, has his work cut out for him. Looks like as of now he is still the GM of the White Sox. So what does Chris Getz need to do? So I watched some podcasts. Lots of people have a lot of different opinions. I actually asked my son, Braden, who the Sox last won the World Series in 2005 when Braden was 3 years old. And, the Sox were pretty good for a while, but it seems like, so he's been a Sox fan since he was a child. And every year he says, the Sox, it's a rebuilding year. It's a rebuilding year. It's a rebuilding year. So I don't know what you're going to call. I don't know what you call this year. I'm not sure where it's going to go next year. But I would say Chris Getz and the White Sox organization has quite a bit rebuilding to do. So for fun, I said, hey, Braden, let's get out the Sandler CARE tool and let's think about if we were advising Chris Getz, how we might advise him using the CARE tool. So here's our CARE tool. Again, I told you it's our most simple tool. If you don't have it, just grab a piece of paper, draw these 4 quadrants, because I'm going to walk you through our ideas for the White Sox, but then we're going to be working on your ideas for your business plan. You are the GM of your business. But first, let's take a quick look at the White Sox in the categories of keep. Who do they want to keep? Who's earning their keep? In the category of attain, who do they want to go out and get? In the category of expand, who do they have that really they have room for growth? I imagine they have a lot of room for growth. And then maybe who might they want to go recapture? And certainly we could be thinking about players. We could be thinking about coaches. We could be thinking about managers. So let's start with keep. So this is who came to mind for Braden on keep. So this is Garrett Crochet. We've decided he is a keeper, right? Even in a season with such a terrible record, Garrett was actually made it to the All-Star team for the American League. He was 4th in strikeouts. He's a free agent, but he wants to stick with the White Sox. He's a great attitude, so we've decided Garrett goes in the keep category. All right, let's look at the expand category. Lots of young players with room for growth, but we're going to zero in on Jonathan Cannon. He is a rookie again, in a very much struggling season, Jonathan had an ERA of 4.49, pretty similar to most rookie pitchers in the MLB. So we've decided Jonathan is really a target to expand. There's a lot of room for growth there. All right, now think about attain. All right, so we're keeping expanding some pitchers. What do the White Sox really need when we think about targeting, attaining? They need offense. They were last in the whole league for hits. Here, I wrote it down here. Hits, runs, lowest in the league. Lowest hits, lowest runs, lowest home runs, lowest batting average, lowest RBIs, lowest on base percentage, lowest slugging percentage. I mean, like, no offense. So who do they want to attain? We need to attain some offense. So Braden said he'd love, now this might be a long shot, but he'd love for them to go out and get Juan Soto. Juan Soto with the Yankees this year, 25 years old, 41 home runs, 109 RBIs. He won the home run derby. He's a free agent. I don't know if the White Sox could pony up the money for Juan Soto. I don't know why Juan Soto might want to come to the White Sox. But this is when you think about the targets of the types of players that they want to attain, we want to attain people like Juan Soto. All right, recapture. Now this one may be a little humorous to any of you in Chicago, but when we thought about what do the White Sox really need, they really need a good manager managing the team day to day. So we thought about Ozzie Guillen. Ozzie Guillen, the winning manager of the 2005 Chicago White Sox. He's a broadcaster now. Well, maybe he'd come back. Maybe he'd come back and lead the team. All right, so that's our care plan for the Chicago White Sox. And now hopefully none of you have had a year like the Chicago White Sox have had, where you're not starting off your October in this type of situation. But still, how might you use the care tool? And for some of you familiar with care, you might have done this tool early in the year. It's pretty common people are doing this tool in January, but I really recommend you dust this tool off every quarter and plan out your quarter, because the fourth quarter, of course, we're closing everything we can before the end of the year, but we're not taking our foot off the gas with making sure we're keeping our clients, expanding our clients, attaining new clients going into 2025. So we're going to have you, and again, if you don't have the tool, just grab a piece of paper, draw 2 lines, make your 4 quadrants, and you're going to think during our session here today about who belongs in your care categories, what activities or behaviors that you want to do to keep those clients, attain those new clients, and how you're going to do it. That is going to be your fourth quarter care plan. So let's start with keep. So thinking about who you want to keep. And really we're differentiating between who's a keep client and who's an expand client. So if you were to look at all of your clients right now and think about, all right, who's a keeper versus who's really a target to expand. And so the keepers, this might be somebody that you really have the wallet share, of everything they could be spending with you, of all the business of theirs that you would want, you have. So there's minimal growth potential, but you definitely want to keep them. They have acceptable profitability. They have acceptable servicing investment. And you know what I mean by that? Like the juice is worth the squeeze on keeping this client. So how do we make sure that these clients who maybe if we have all their business, sometimes we kind of take them for granted and they're not getting as much attention. And these are the clients that potentially we could lose because we're not keeping an eye on them. I thought of this quote here that 91% of unhappy customers who are non-complainers simply leave. I can remember I spent over 20 years in the IT business, is sometimes we'd get one of those, Dear John letters, we've made a change to go with another company, and we'd be like, I didn't even know they were unhappy. So the question really was, what were we doing to verify that they were happy, or to ask them about anything they were unhappy with, so we didn't get that letter. Okay. And here's what we found: of all the clients who changed suppliers in 2023, 68% did so because, and you're going to guess, did they leave because A, they were offered a better solution, B, they were offered a lower price, or C, they no longer felt valued by their supplier? And I know when I ask my classes this question, a lot of people think B, that they were offered a lower price. And certainly that could be part of it, but the answer was C. They no longer felt valued by the incumbent supplier, and that was why they decided it was okay to explore making a move, maybe without even telling their current vendor, current supplier, that they were unhappy. So we want to make sure that doesn't happen to us. And so in the keep category, we're remembering this, that your best customers are your competitors' what? Your best customers are your competitors' best prospects. Just like you're going after your competitors' clients, they're coming after your clients. And what do your clients say when they call them? Okay, so keep this in mind when you think about the time you might invest in keeping and expanding, that it costs 6 to 7 times more to attract a new customer than to retain an existing customer. We've been doing a lot of work lately with customer service teams because companies are realizing that often they've been putting all their training into the sales teams because, of course, the lifeblood of the business is new business and business development. And they've been training those teams, but also often, customer service or even account managers, it's just kind of assumed that they're doing what they should be doing there. And, but they're having retention issues or they're not growing those accounts. So a really important stat here, just thinking about how expensive it is to get new clients versus keep the ones you have. And we want to make sure we're doing the behaviors to keep the clients that we have. All right, so that's our keep, our thinking around keep. Let's think about expand. So different than a keep client, an expand client is somebody that we don't currently have all of the wallet share of their business that we could have. There is strong growth potential there. Perhaps it's with other divisions of the company we aren't currently working. Perhaps it's different product lines or services. They're working with us with these certain products, but not everything that they could be working with us on. It's an acceptable level of profitability. So basically any business we've been doing with them, if it's acceptable profitability, more business we would be doing with them should also have acceptable profitability. And so we're actually willing to invest in them. Think about that you're investing in that expand target, meaning you might be doing more pre-call planning, like Michael talked about with the managers, for growing that account, maybe involving even your technical resource in some of your strategy meetings, and also that they could be a really strong referral potential for you. All right. And I'm going to get to some of the how here coming up. But for now, you're thinking about the who. Who belongs in keep, who belongs in expand, especially coming up on year end. This is the time, right? These companies are, doing business reviews. They are setting budgets. This is the time to get in front of them. All right, think about attain, right? Who are you going after? Who is your ideal target? For the White Sox, the ideal target is, a big hitter, right? So who's your big hitter? Who are you going after as far as targeting new business? Is it maybe a different type of client than you had in the past, maybe with more growth potential? Maybe it's someone that a competitor is having some challenges taking care of them, and there's some opportunity there that you're going to go after, maybe a high profile logo that could help lead to more business. There's more strategic potential. So really having a plan. It's not just haphazard who comes in on your website, but you're actually strategically targeting who you want to attain. All right, and then recapture. And I think this is the most overlooked category here. I think a lot of times when customers or clients go away, we just think, all right, they went away. And we don't necessarily get that list out on a frequent basis and look at, all right, who would we want back? Knowing what we know about them, who would we want back? Maybe there's something repairable in that relationship. Maybe something's changed. Maybe something's changed in your company. Maybe something's changed in their company. Maybe they left because they had a new person come in that wanted to put their stamp on that part of the business and they took it to a friend, and that maybe they're not happy there. Maybe that decision maker isn't there anymore and the timing might make sense. So again, getting strategic. This is a thinking tool. Who am I putting in these 4 categories? And then how am I designing my plan to go after this business? And I think it's helpful to think about how much time you want to spend in each of these categories. It's not uncommon that somebody might realize they're spending almost all their time in the attain category, going after new business, and not enough time, keeping their clients, making sure they don't leave, paying attention to retention, paying attention to expansion. Or it could be the reverse, that they're spending all their time, calling on existing clients. Those are it's a lot more fun to call on an existing client who knows you and likes you than to go knock on a door and get it slammed in your face, like we often have to do going after new business. But based on your goals for your business, where are you spending your time, and where do you want to spend your time fourth quarter and going into 2025? All right, now what? You've got your goals of you're kind of defined who's a keep and attain and recapture expand for you. Who would you put in those categories? And now we want to turn those names or those targets into a behavior plan. So in Sandler, we call your behavior plan your cookbook. So you think about a cookbook. A cookbook has recipes. A recipe would have a quantity and ingredients that would get you to your desired result. So your desired result is your quota, or your growth number, your goals, whatever it is. That's your desired result. And how do you break that down into the ingredients and the quantities of those ingredients that you need to put in place in your own cookbook to hit those numbers? So let's think about the Keep cookbook. What might be in your Keep cookbook? So the quantities here, it may not be relevant for you. You could have less, you could have more. It's really individual to you what makes sense, but these are the types of things that might be in your Keep cookbook. So you might have temperature calls. So think of a temperature call. You're just taking someone's temperature on, kind of how's it going? How did this work out for you based on our last conversation? How did my team do? And then you're showing appreciation. Remember, customers leave because they didn't feel appreciated. How are we making sure that they feel appreciated? We're remembering past conversations. We're bringing things back up. We're paying, as Margie was just talking about, when we adapt to somebody's disc style. So we're really adapting to their personality. If they're more of an I style and like to talk more socially and talk about their weekend and things, we know them. We have we built trust with them over the years, and we're asking them questions about their life if that's what they care about. If they're more of a D, bottom line, you're paying attention. What are they putting on LinkedIn? What are they proud of? What would they, if you brought it up in a conversation, they would be like, oh yes, I did, we did accomplish that, or we did win that award, or we are acquiring this new company. So think about how to have touches to, in your temperature calls to make sure you're keeping those clients. And then you're doing business review meetings. This is your opportunity to really plan, to look for any areas for improvement. Now I'm going to walk you through a structure on that. And might you have wider and deeper, higher conversations? Maybe your relationship is just with one person at a company. Well, you're vulnerable. If your relationship is with just one person, you're vulnerable, right? And so that person, can they introduce you to other people in the company so you're not as vulnerable? All right, expand. Very similar to Keep. We're doing the temperature calls. We're having business review meetings. Maybe we're asking more for referrals and meeting other parts of their company, perhaps the wider, deeper, higher. So the one difference I would say with expand is you are pre-call planning and thinking about areas that you could potentially help them more and expand your offerings, and you're really putting time in. You're setting an agenda with the customer for that meeting, and part of your agenda is that you'd like to talk about some of these other areas that you might be able to help them. Perhaps they're inviting other people in their company to that meeting. Perhaps you're inviting other people to that meeting. So it is a much more thought out and strategic. Remember, this is the thinking tool. How do I get more strategic with my opportunities to expand in my accounts? And this is the time of year to do this. This is the time of year that you're doing these year-end business review meetings. This is the time of year that people are doing their budgets. This is the time of year they're thinking about their direction for their coming year and how you can bring strategy to that. So I want to walk you through a tool called Recon. So think of Recon, and this is just an acronym for review, evaluate, changes, opportunities, next steps, Recon. This is really just a process, or even think of it as an agenda for these keep and expand meetings, right? So this is one of your how tools to go with the what goal of having these meetings. So what are we doing using Recon in these meetings? So first we're starting with review. So one thing to point out here, obviously we're coming back to reviewing kind of how things have been going, walk through maybe some of the goals from our last meeting, but also remember to review, to take them back to why you guys started working together in the first place. Coming from the IT space, it was very common. We would start working with the company when they were having problems. That's why they were firing their other IT company and hiring us. So we'd get involved, we'd spend all kinds of time getting them all fixed up, and all of a sudden things are running smooth. Well, then often they think, you know what, I think I'm going to go shop this IT relationship, because they were forgetting how much pain they were in when they brought us in. And the reason they're running smoothly is because we keep them running smoothly. So we've got to remind our clients of that. And of course, in Sandler, we're going to teach you, people believe their own data. So rather than you telling them, here's why things are going so well now, how can you ask them questions to get them to tell you, get them to recognize to you that they recognize that's why things are running smoothly now, right? So you're going back to the pain of why you started working back together in the first place. All right, so now you're doing some evaluate. Think of those temperature questions relative to their expectations. How do they feel like things have been going? Scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, we're completely missing the boat on everything you expected, 10 being, it's going very swimmingly. Where are you? And then you can gauge what questions you want to ask based on how they grade you on that 1 to 10 scale. And assuming they do give you a positive grade, you want to find out how that positive result has been impacting their company. Again, these are the things that when your competitors call you, or when your competitors call them, they're going to think about these conversations, why they started working with you, how you solve their pains, the impact you continue to have with them, the fact that you have these strategic conversations with them. And of course, you're looking for improvement areas. You might want to think about changes going on with their company, changes going on with your company, market factors in general that could be impacting their future, their growth goals. I find like ChatGPT to be a great tool to go in there and write a prompt about what's going on in their industry or their market or the competition, and it will give you a lot of details to help you ask them really smart questions on these meetings. In fact, you just tell GPT, write me some smart questions to ask in this meeting, and it'll do that. So that's been a game changer. And then from that, you're looking for the opportunities. Where are other areas that you could service them and help them? You're just like in any sales call, you're still running discovery and in a client meeting, determining what their pains are in those areas. What is the level of urgency to solve some of those, so we can prioritize together based on what we want to talk about? Are there other people in their company that would get involved in those conversations? That helps you go wider, deeper, higher. And then you close on, okay, what do we do next there? And then, of course, wrap up your meeting with next step, mutual expectations, and scheduling your next meeting. All right, Recon. I don't know, take a screenshot of that or ask your Sandler coach for a copy of this if you think that's a good format for you to follow. All right. Now let's talk about attain, going after new business. All right. So, and again, these numbers could look very different based on how much time you spend in the attain category, if you're more business development or if you're more account management. But how many prospecting attempts a week do you need to do to get to the number of conversations you need to have, to get to the number of meetings you need to have, to get to the number of deals that you need to have to make your numbers? So you're thinking about, my prospecting, my calls, my LinkedIn, am I using Vidyard and video and phone and email? How am I stacking those attempts? We find a lot better results when people do multiple attempts. How many conversations are you having a week? How many appointments are you setting a week? LinkedIn, asking for referrals, could be like strategic, networking groups, strategic strategic meetings with circle of success type partners for you. All right, and then our last one here, recapture. When you think about the recapture cookbook, again, probably something people haven't thought about it yet. But one thing we have in our cookbooks here at Sandler is something called WATN, which is where are they now? So think about, people you've worked with in the past. Where are they now? It might be someone who left one of your clients, and you could recapture. Maybe they left the company you worked with, but they're somewhere else now, and you could recapture that contact, and there's business there. And that's been one of the biggest cookbook items that have gotten results for us are those where are they nows. Maybe set a goal for those recapture conversations. And again, maybe the timing is right to start working together again. And you might need to have a fall on the sword conversation where basically you share with them, what maybe some of the things that went wrong when you had stopped working together, things that you fixed in your environment, and are they open to talking with you again? They may have made a switch thinking the grass would be greener, and the grass isn't greener, and they'd be open to talking with you again. So again, think about that. What are you doing for those recapture? All right, so the last thing I'm going to share here, and then we'll wrap up, is our cookbook behavior tracker. Now, I know everyone probably has a lot of automated tools and CRMs and different ways of tracking activities, but I still find something like a simple spreadsheet to track your cookbook can be very effective to keep you zeroed in on the behaviors and what your goal is and what your actual results are. So you can see in this sample, again, these are just sample numbers, may not be your numbers, but this salesperson actually put their goals in the categories of attain and recapture, and that, things like first time appointments and LinkedIn and asking for referrals. And then they also have goals in the areas of keep and expand, things like the temperature check, those recon meetings, having higher, wider, and deeper conversations, and then setting goals in each of these areas per week, and then actually tracking those goals. Again, it's not uncommon that people set goals and then don't track them. And the color coding here is key. When you hit your goal, you color it green. When you don't hit your goal, you color it red. And then track it. Track this for 3 months. What if you set these goals and track this just between now and the end of the year? If you haven't already been doing this, maybe for yourself. If you have a manager that would review this with you, even better. If you have a colleague where you could do this together, have an accountability partner, even better. Right at the end of the year, if it made no difference, then you can email me and say, Karen, that didn't make any difference. But I think it would make a difference. And I know that again, tying our care goals to our cookbook is key to actually, I've got my care plan right here. Oh, I guess I can't see it with the screen. I'm updating it every quarter. I'm turning that into the cookbook. And this is the key to actually taking action on those care goals. So to summarize your to-do, what I would challenge you in today is to work on that care plan, thinking about who belongs in your different quadrants. Think about, okay, now that I have my who, what am I going to do? What is my cookbook going to look like in these 4 categories? What am I going to commit to? And how am I going to do it? Am I going to bring in something like recon? Am I going to work on some prospecting skills? Am I going to work on a way to develop some of these skills? Maybe I'd like to do more cold calling, but I haven't had success with it. I need more technique. I'd like to do more LinkedIn, but I need some technique. And in Sandler, we have lots of help and coaching for you in those areas. And then the 4th item I'd really recommend is picking an accountability partner for you on this cookbook. Again, it may be a manager, a coworker, a coach, someone in your life to help hold you accountable on these for the good of your success. So, thank you. Here's to your winning season. Here's to your winning season in the 4th quarter and in 2025. And I'll echo what Michael Norton said. If you reach out to me on LinkedIn, Karen Meracle, Sandler, I think you could find me if you've got questions for me. Happy to help. And thanks, Emily.